calling in right now is one of our favorites. We haven't spoken to him in a while. The man who does Football Morning in America, must-read column every single day on NBC Sports. Joining us, Peter King, here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, PK?
Rich, I do want to ask you one question before we start on all things
Please,
Niffle.
sir. Please, sir.
Have you told your lovely bride, Susie, what you guys are going to be doing for New Year's Eve this year?
Oh, yeah. We're in all, honesty, since you have asked, as Jim Harbaugh was lifting the trophy, I turned to Suze, it could have been mere seconds to say, we're going to have to find a television on New Year's Eve. That's going to have to happen. And she knew it, but she knows. This is, even though it's all of our first rodeo with this whole Michigan being in a national champion semifinal thing. I mean, it's all good, man. It's house money as far as I'm concerned. It's unbelievable.
Did you see the sort of cute Brady Harbaugh thing that Brady posted last week?
I did not.
It was really good. It was about him talking about how great it was to finally see Michigan beat Ohio State and recounting the times he beat them and how low he was when he lost to them. It was really, really good. He was on some video deal with Harbaugh, and they posted a clip of it. It was fun.
Yeah, I'm on cloud nine, and I appreciated your text as well that you sent me over the weekend. I'm getting texts from people like literally I played. You know what I mean? And it's funny, but I appreciate it. So let us jump in to the NFL. And I know that they were on a bye, and I know that they are on the outside looking in, or as we refer to it here on the Rich Eisen Show, sniffing it in the NFC. But what happened with Carolina? They fire offensive coordinator Joe Brady, who came with Matt Rule in a very heralded maneuver by the organization as the best, hottest coaching candidate from college and the best, hottest coordinator candidate from college, and pairing them up. What happened in Carolina?
I think Brady's reputation was a little bit shaky coming into this year, Rich, because I think the Panthers were a little surprised that he couldn't make beautiful music with Teddy Bridgewater last year. In fact, at the end of last year, I'm told that Brady expected that he was going to get fired after last year. And he didn't. They kept him in. And basically, I think what it all means is that he wasn't calling the game that the head coach wanted to be called. The head coach wants to be a little bit more ground and pound than Joe Brady wanted it to be. And so rather than continuing to try to deal with this, put a square peg in a round hole, he just made a change. I think he almost did Brady a favor by doing it on an NFL game day Sunday so the news would be dwarfed by the white noise of all the games.
So Carolina, again, like the Saints, like other teams that are on the outside looking in, still have 5 games left to play to make a run, and they're not too far away from that playoff spot. So
they're not going to be making a run.
Well, then the question is, what are they going to look like? So it's going to be Chuba Hubbard and Cam doing mesh point stuff and trying to jam it down your throat and trying to make that run that you say they're not going to make? I mean,
who knows, Rich? I think the bottom line in all of this is you look at every coach who is struggling right now, everyone, and there is a universal truth. They don't have a quarterback. And, they can dress it up any way they want to in Carolina in the last 5 weeks. Do you really have hope that at the end of that 5-week period that David Tepper and Matt Rule are going to have a meeting and they're going and Scott Fitterer and they're going to have a meeting and say, yep, Cam's our guy going forward? That was a $6 million Scotch tape job till the end of the year. And then they're going to go out and spend more money and try to fix it one more time and chase the tail that is every team knowing that it will never win without getting a quarterback of the future.
Does Ron Rivera have a quarterback of the future? Has Taylor Heinicke played his way into being the Washington football team, whatever they'll be known as?
Contention, but it's why it's good that you've got 5 more games to make that judgment and maybe a postseason game. I could see a scenario where Washington drafts the best quarterback available when it picks in the draft this year, or if there's one in the second or third round that they really like, and then just bring him to camp and let him learn and give Taylor Heinicke another year to see if he's a long-term guy. But, I mean, maybe. He's the kind of guy who you want on your roster. It's exactly like, why do you want Colt McCoy? Why do you want Gardner Minshew? Because you want competent or better than competent level NFL backup on your team.
So what about Minshew? Did that do anything, move the needle in any way, shape, or form in Philadelphia?
I would
despite
doubt
it.
I mean, they never traded for Gardner Minshew. Basically, Gardner Minshew is, replaced Joe Flacco, and they're both 6th-round picks. That was the compensation for him. So that I shouldn't say there's no way. There's highly, highly unlikely that Howie Roseman woke up this morning and said, well, Jalen Hurts, Gardner Minshew going into 2022. They probably will have 3 first-round picks somewhere between, let's say, 12 and 25. And you're going to be able to do a lot with that, maybe between 10 and 25. And you're going to be able to do a lot with that. So we'll see what happens. I don't think they're done building their quarterback roster.
Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. And here we are now, week 13, longest regular season ever, et cetera, so on and so forth. And the preseason, non-playing season, talent evaluation season, the conversation was all about Russell Wilson and him wanting better, or him wanting a voice, or him wanting stuff that we saw Brady cash in, right? And that was the whole conversation. Now here we are. They just finally won a game with him as quarterback for the first time since week 4, Peter. That happened. Where do things stand over the next few weeks, as they are probably in the same category of hoping to make a run but perhaps not making it? What do you think?
I think the next few weeks for Pete Carroll are vitally important for his future. I won't be surprised if they make a coaching change, but I don't think they're actively looking to make a coaching change. I do believe that Jody Allen is, certainly has to be thinking about that and thinking about what she wants the future of her franchise to be. And look, Rich, I don't know this for a fact, but it's just a feeling I get. I think if Pete Carroll comes back, just my gut feeling, that Russell Wilson would probably want to have a chance to play elsewhere. It's not that he doesn't like Pete Carroll. I think he does like Pete Carroll. But, he wants different. He wants a change. He wants something new. And I think that new could be a new situation in Seattle. We'll see. But, again, a lot of that is going to have to do with what happens in this last month of the season. So many teams right now, I think, are on the cusp, like Seattle, like Denver. I think Denver is a really fascinating place to watch because obviously they've now lost 11 in a row to their daddies in the AFC West, Kansas City. So what do you do if you're Denver? You really like Vic Fangio. You like what he does on defense. You simply cannot get the quarterback position right. It's been 6 years now. So what do? And that's the thing I think that George Payton has to decide there. And I think in Seattle they have to decide, do we want Russell Wilson to be the centerpiece of our future? If so, with what coach? And, how active are we going to be in trying to improve our team in the offseason?
And how active is Russell going to be in that decision, right? He certainly rattled a couple of cages this spring.
If I were Jody Allen, if I were John Schneider, now Jody Allen's a bit of a reclusive person. If I were Jody Allen and John Schneider, I would probably have him a little bit involved. I would probably have some discussions with him before the end of this year. Like, Rich, the scenario I think if I were ruling the world, if I were running the Seahawks, is I'd have a meeting with Russell Wilson if I were Jody Allen, and I would just say, hey, this is all off the record. Nothing's coming out of this room, but I just want to know, do you want to be here? If you want to be here, what are the conditions that you'd be a happy, willing, long-term participant here? That's what you ought to do. You shouldn't be going to war with your quarterback every year. Not saying that they will be, but I do think that if it's status quo at the end of the year, I'm not sure Russell Wilson's going to want to stay. That's fine. You both made your decision. But you really ought to just lay the cards on the table, before you get to nut-cutting time.
Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. What is the Steelers' plan at quarterback, do you think? What do you think?
I really don't think they have one. I think they're going to enter the off season. I would be very surprised. Everybody always says, "Hey, Steelers, this conservative organization, all this." Well, they've made some big moves. That Minka Fitzpatrick trade, everybody said, "Oh my God, that's
right.
so un-Steeler-like." Kevin Colbert is really smart. He's more of a progressive guy than people think, more of a future thinker than people think. And when it comes to quarterback, I will be very surprised if they don't pick up the phone after the season, after Ben Roethlisberger walks away, which I thought it was very interesting. Adam Schefter has the story Saturday. Roethlisberger has the chance to deny it or to say it isn't true, and all he says is, well, I haven't told everybody that. And everybody chuckles. So clearly, this is a story. This is real. And to me, when I hear that, when I think about it, I think 2 days after the last game of the season for the Green Bay Packers, just my gut feeling, Kevin Colbert's going to pick up the phone and call Brian Gutekunst and say, do not make a move on Aaron Rodgers if you're going to, without talking to us.
And then the question is why wouldn't Rodgers want to stay put? You know what I mean? Like, would they really? Are the Packers going through?
What about Devontae Adams?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But why would the Packers say, you know what? It's time for us to just start from square one with Jordan Love, right? We've got the coach. He's not going anywhere, and we've got the rest of the roster that we totally believe. But we do need to just start from scratch, rather than do that 3 years from now when Aaron Rodgers might want to walk away at age 42, 43. Like, and then why would unless Rodgers really feels that that everything hasn't been done for him, or does it really matter the way the season finishes? Than what we're talking about, because Rodgers is in a spot where he knows exactly where everything is and what he wants.
I know, but I think it matters. I think everything matters to Aaron Rodgers. Look, I don't know that everybody believes this, and I can't tell you. I don't live in Aaron Rodgers' head. But when I talked to him in August, he looked me in the eye and he said, listen, this right now is about this season. This is about being where your feet are. This is not about he told the team this when he came back. And I'm going to crudely paraphrase, because I wasn't there, but this is just basically what he passed on to me, that he told his teammates, listen, forget worrying about where you're going to be in 2022. Forget about the future. Let's everybody do everything humanly possible we can to win now, to win this year. And then next year is going to take care of itself. Forget it. And so I don't think he's going to talk about it. I'd be surprised if he talked about it at all. And I think he just wants to let everything fall the way it's going to fall this year. And then on February 16th, or whatever the morning after his last game is, of course he thinks about it now. But that's when he will really start to put his plan into place for 2022 and beyond. And just as a reminder, Rich, Aaron Rodgers has the ability after this year to request a trade, and Green Bay has to deal him then. Okay, he'll have some choice, but not full choice as to where he goes. And then if he plays one more year in 2022, he will be an unrestricted free agent.
Right.
And the Packers can do nothing to stop him from leaving. So, essentially, he can go next year with some strings on him, including, keep this in mind, wherever he goes, it's going to cost that team 2 or 3 very high draft picks and maybe one very good player. If he goes to Denver for 2 ones and Jerry Jeudy, like, is he going to say, whoa, I want to throw the ball to Jerry Jeudy? So there's a lot of things I'm sure he is thinking about now and he will think about, but I don't think any of us are going to be privy to that until after the season.
Isn't it amazing how the Patriots have gotten it right so quickly? Now that we're talking about quarterbacks and turning the page and what to do and all that.
It's a great lesson, isn't it? It's a great lesson in saying we're going to tune out all the noise. We're going to pick with the 15th pick in the draft a quarterback who we think is ready-made, not just for our offense, but for being a New England Patriot. He walked in there the same way Tom Brady walked in there in 2000, which is, having no privileges, even though he was the 15th pick and Brady 199th, having no privileges and having to prove absolutely everything. And, they've kept him under a rock for the most part. I've requested and been unable to interview him. I'm sure a lot of my peers have had the same experience. Because that's the way Belichick is to rookies. He's got the John Thompson ethos, that John Thompson used to have with freshmen. But I look at this right now, Rich, and I just say Belichick built this team the absolute right way for a young quarterback. How? Intermediate throwing targets. Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. And with defensive playmakers that every week it's somebody new. 1 week, Kyle Van Noy. 1 week, Kyle Duggar. 1 week, J.C. Jackson. 1 week, Matt Judon. I mean, it's amazing how many defensive playmakers they have. And everybody said, oh, geez, you're giving away Stephon Gilmore? I mean, as usual, Belichick knew what he was doing.
And it's funny you say that, Jones enters the same way that Brady entered, even though Brady was a 6th-round pick, 199th overall. Mac Jones was a first-rounder, 15. We all know that there's a famous documentary, The Brady Six, because there were 6 quarterbacks taken before him. Mac Jones, despite where he was, there were 4 taken before him. So we can maybe have a documentary, The Jones 4, at some point.
It's all, hey, you know what, Rich? Great moral to the story. And I remember there's a quarterback who's been picked in the top 5. I'm not going to tell you in the last 3 or 4 years, whose agent was bemoaning where he was going to go and who was going to pick him. And I said to him, Lamar Jackson's the luckiest guy in the world, because I'm sure he was angry on draft day going at the absolute bottom of the first round, but he should have been throwing a party, just like Dan Marino threw a party, or should have been, when he got picked 28th by the Dolphins, because it is your first contract in football just doesn't matter. It's where you're drafted and what your chances are once you're drafted. And look, on draft night, everybody is happy. Zach Wilson's happy. Justin Fields is happy. Trevor Lawrence, they're all happy. But I will tell you, do you think any of those guys don't now look at Mac Jones and say, oh, my God, what a great situation he's in. What a lucky guy he is. I mean, it's where you get drafted.
Peter, thanks for the call. Loved it, as always. Appreciate it.
Okay, Rich, you take care.
Peter King, check out his Football Morning in America column. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.